¿Qué onda, cracks? ¿Cómo están? Yo soy Luis Cava de VAXNET y hoy quiero compartirles una entrevista que me tiene súper emocionado, ya que tuve la oportunidad de platicar cara a cara con el CTO, el CTO o el director de tecnología de Huawei, el señor y gurú Paul Scanlan. Además de esto, cracks, esa es la primera entrevista que hago en inglés y me puse muy nervioso, no les voy a mentir. Digo, era la primera entrevista en inglés y ¿a quién me toca hacerla? Al señor Paul Scanlan. Ustedes lo van a notar en el video, sí, van a notar mis nervios. Pero también tranquilos porque este video cuenta con subtítulos. Entonces, a partir de que comience la entrevista, ya van a empezar a aparecer los subtítulos. No quiero spoilearte mucho, pero en esta entrevista se tocaron puntos muy importantes y que tal vez no habías escuchado sobre la red 5G. Así que creo que es momento de pasar con la entrevista. En verdad espero que la disfrutes muchísimo, así como yo disfruté muchísimo grabarla y platicar con el señor Paul Scanlan. Así que, bueno, ya no hay nada más que agregar. Muchísimas gracias por ver el video. Comenzamos con esta entrevista. Nice to meet you, Mr. Paul Scanlan. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Luis.
Okay. Well, I'm really nervous and I'm really excited to talk with you.
Relax. We're all friends.
Thank you. Okay, well, I got some questions about the 5G network. I hope you can help me with this information.
I will do my best, Luis Carl.
He's the most regarded person in that topic.
I know. Okay, Mr. Scanlan. The first question is, what is 5G network? If you can explain it.
Sure. It's a very interesting question you pick because everybody talks about 5G and always thinks it's faster. Yes, they talk about speed. Sure. And when we think of the standards that we developed, which is talking about speed, of course, but we tried to engineer it to do many different things. Okay, so I like to think of 5G as a platform for transformation. All right, I call it a platform for transformation. So I'm not going to mention speed at all, okay, in my explanation. And the reason I say it's a platform for transformation is because if you were to think of a bucket, of two buckets of water, okay, and we're going to call one a 5G bucket and one a 4G bucket, yes? The two buckets look exactly the same dimensions perhaps, yes? But the 5G bucket holds much more water, okay? So that means that if I build this, I can give more people the same amount of water, or I can give more water to the same people, yes? You can see how, so it's not necessarily about speed. Of course it is faster. The download speeds are faster, the upload speeds are much faster, but this is a first concept. So why do I call it a transformation platform? Because if you start with this idea, then wherever you build the 5G network, you have more. So you can do more things with it, okay? So what more things could we do with it? The first thing is the telecom operator, he's always worried about his cost, right? His money, how to get the revenue to repay the investment. So now he has an opportunity to improve his operational efficiency. So for a telecom operator, it gives him two very important things. It gives him opportunity to improve his operating position, his OPEX, okay, makes him very efficient, but also because of the performance improvement of 5G, it gives his customers a better experience. Yeah, so that's from a telecom operator. Now, when you asked about building a 5G network, we can now build it, instead of building the very large towers, 76 meters, 100-meter towers that you see all around the countryside or on top of the roofs. We can have, because the base station is much smaller, okay, much smaller. So that means we could put the base station on the lamppost. We could share them on the lamppost. We could share them on the power poles, right? Make it less obvious, make it a little bit more aesthetic, yes? Because we're trying to do the second thing with 5G, and that's to make industry transform. So if you hear about connected cars or autonomous cars or traffic infrastructure and all these sorts of things that we want to try to improve logistics and carbon dioxide emissions, then we need to manage the traffic better. And that's what 5G will help us do. And of course, lampposts are perfect because that's where all the cars are going. So you can see the deployment can be different, how you build the network. And that's before we talk about things like 5G in industry, like manufacturing industry, or in healthcare, or in education, or agriculture. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, the next question is there any disadvantage with the 5G network compared to the previous technologies like 3G network or 4G network?
No. Okay. Now that's a very simple yes/no answer. Okay. So the answer is no. 5G is, first of all, it's much more efficient in terms of spectrum compared with 4G, compared with 3G, compared with 2G. It has better ability to manage data like video. So you and I are communicating by video. Before, most of the video when we use our handphone is watching, downloading Netflix and things like this, right?
Sure.
But we're not doing that now. You're transmitting high quality video to me, and I'm transmitting high quality video too. So 5G does this. It's called uplink, and the uplink is much, much bigger and much better than it is in 4G. So that's the next obvious, very, very big difference. And the third very big difference is because we have so much capacity, we can split the network. Yes, we call slice the network. So we can give consumers maybe one service level, industry another service level, maybe critical infrastructure, critical service like emergency services, another slice, and they won't interfere with each other. So you see, 5G is not only more efficient than 4 and 3 and 2, but 5G can do things that 4 and 3 and 2G could never do.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, the next question, will the use of 5G network increase the cost of telephone plans or consume more data?
So that's a very difficult question to answer. Let me explain why. It's difficult to answer because it all depends on, I think, which country you're in, how many subscribers or subscriber density. There's a lot of factors, yes? But if we just look at operational efficiency of 5G compared with 4G, it has a lot more capacity, yes? So the best way to answer your question is, if there is traffic growth, the traffic is growing, then that means the telecom operator has to provide the capacity for the consumers, right? Otherwise, consumers will be, no, can't get on, buffering, it's not going to be working, right? So they have to provide this capacity. So now, how could they provide the capacity? If they provide it using 4G, it's not as efficient as 5G. So it's going to cost them more to do it using 4G ultimately, okay? So 5G, because it's a bigger bucket, it has more capacity, it could do it better, most likely cheaper than 4G for the telecom operator. But because we now have 5G, which is like 4G on steroids, because everybody's going to be consuming a lot more data. I mean, here in China, I get almost 300 megabits every single day. Yes, 300 megabits on 5G all the time. So, of course, I download faster. It's natural, yes? But my experience is very, very good. So I'm quite happy, but I use my data plan more quickly. So perhaps I'm paying a little bit more, but my experience is better. Yes. But I don't know that the data plan, so my expectation is that the data plans will probably change to reflect the additional investment and affect the different behavior of consumers. But I don't believe that anybody is going to lose out with 5G. Just look at Korea, everybody's adopting it. Look at China, everybody's adopting it. In Europe, look at everybody's adopting it. Middle East, everybody's adopting it. Asia, everybody's adopting it. So I don't see anybody's plans that have been increased because of the adoption of 5G. Yes?
Okay.
Well, and what about Mexico and other Latin American countries? When will we going to start using the 5G network? Is there any date?
Yeah. So I actually don't know the answer. Perhaps Juan Carlos can tell you which government is doing different things. But in order to be able to roll out 5G, to give it to the consumers, yes, you still have to have three things, all right? You need the government to release the spectrum to the operators. That's the first thing that needs to happen. And the second thing is you need the operators to start building the network. Yeah. And the third one, you must have the ecosystem of the handsets. Yes. So the good news, if I work backwards, is that the cost of a handset today, 5G, is about $150. Quite inexpensive, yes? Now, of course, this is the bottom end of the market. And the bottom end of the market in 4G is about $20. So there's still a gap if you're coming from, say, developing countries where price sensitivity is important, or rural areas, as an example. But the good news is the ecosystem is very mature already. We have about 220 million subscribers globally, a large portion in China. China has about 800,000 base stations, 5G already built. And then Europe, Middle East and Asia, about another 200,000 or 300,000 already. So you can see there's about 1 million base stations. So that means the competitiveness, the cost competitiveness, the quality, yes, the reliability of the 5G equipment is available and ready off the shelf from everybody. There's more than 40 or 50 devices available off the shelf at an inexpensive price. So the only stumbling block now is when the government issues the 5G license. Now, in some cases, governments and operators may not want to launch 5G straight away because they think I can still have growth in my 4G or my 3G or my 2G. But if you think about what I just mentioned about operational efficiency and servicing growth, data growth, video growth, then it makes very good economic sense to actually provide 5G. But again, not every market will be the same. Yes, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Peru, they're all different, right? Whether it's Australia or US or France or Canada, everybody's a bit different, yes, for many different reasons in this area. But one thing I think Latin America could benefit from is the B2B business. So how 5G can transform industries, how 5G can help education, how 5G can help the health sector, how 5G can improve competitiveness in manufacturing and in transport and in energy. These are different business models. So yes, we can have 5G for people, but we can have 5G for industry. And I don't think the two of them necessarily have to go at the same time. So maybe the population is not ready for 5G, but the industries are certainly ready for 5G, and that can be done in parallel. So that would be my advice, suggestion to governments who are still thinking about, releasing spectrum and or operators thinking about or hesitant about deploying 5G.
Well, thank you so much. The next question and the last one is, I know you're a busy man. I would like to know.
Plenty of time, Lord Carlos.
No, this question is, if you have a routine, I mean, when you wake up, what is your routine day by day and day and day?
All right, okay, that's a very good question. So
let's talk
question. About it. No, there's no problem at all. I quite enjoy it. So my general routine is I'm up usually quite early. So I'm up and I'm either cycling or I'm swimming.
Okay.
And if I'm cycling in the morning, then I usually swim in the evening. If I swim in the morning, I cycle in the evening, or I walk. I either walk on mountains, hills, or treadmills, usually incline and things. I don't run, my knees are not as good as they were, not as young as yours. But so I like to start the day with exercise. Yes, that's the first thing I do. And if I'm going to the office, which I am at the moment, then it's usually different types of things that I do. Sometimes it's customer meetings. Obviously now with COVID and lockdown and travel restrictions, it's by video. But here I'm now in Malaysia. I work with customers. So I tend to go and visit customers a lot. And by customers, I mean the telecom operators, the government, the media, president, prime ministers, kings, queens. I visit sort of everybody. I'm very privileged in the position that I'm in. I'm wearing a relaxed shirt today, but usually I'm in a suit and tie, and Juan Carlos never sees me like this, right? But the time is changing a little bit. Yes, I'm pretty simple. I like salads and things like that for lunch, and I eat just about everything. I'm still pizza and burger man sometimes, but I like to eat food from all around the world. And because I live in China predominantly and Asia all the time, then it's a very multicultural area that I'm in. If I'm in China, then I have a band, so I'll be going back to China next week, and I have a little band and we play in little restaurants. I like to practice music, yes, and I study music at the Australian Music Education Board, and I'm an okay guitarist, I guess you could call it, a singer and performer. I like to do that. So my passion is also music, quite frankly. So I study it professionally. I play it, not professionally, but for entertainment. I like to teach music, whether it's guitar or whether it's music or banjo or violin, any sort of stringed instrument I'd like to dabble with. But usually I travel around the world and meet customers. I develop B2B business cases, so the health, education, manufacturing, these use cases. I like to travel to the country, meet the governments, the ministers, the industry sectors, try to explain to them how they can prove the concept of using 5G in manufacturing to make it more efficient, or in healthcare so we can improve the healthcare services. They're the things that I'm passionate about in Huawei. And like Juan Carlos has very kindly done, he's arranged interviews for me. I do this all around the world, whether it's the US or Europe, China. Even in China, I'm in the news, yes. Magazine articles. So I do a lot of things, yeah. There's another thing that's very interesting. I also chair the advisory committee in Huawei for our software transformation, because, the company's been in the news a million times. And I guess this foreigner has been in Huawei for 13 years and people in Huawei trust me. So I get to give and try to engage with my local colleagues, Chinese colleagues in R&D, to try to understand the challenges in R&D and where the new directions are, and to give new ideas to people in different departments. So I like to collaborate a lot.
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much. It was the last question. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you very much, Luis Carlos.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you. Muchas gracias. Cualquier duda ya sabes.
Muchas gracias. This I understand.